The autumn mist hung low over Lake Geneva as Elisa Meyer drove her small van along the winding shoreline road. At 28 years old, she was one of the few female piano tuners in Switzerland. Her destination was the estate of Viktor Volkov, a legendary Russian cellist who had retired from public life 15 years ago to live as a recluse in this elegant villa overlooking the Alps. Elisa had been tuning his Steinway grand piano every 2 weeks for 3 years. She knew the old man as well as anyone could. He was deeply private, the kind of person who carried decades of weight inside his chest. She entered through the side door he always left unlocked. The house smelled of old wood, books, and rosin from his cello bows. She passed the living room, the kitchen, and reached the music studio. This room was the heart of the villa, housing the Steinway, Viktor's cellos, and a small wall safe she had noticed many times but never seen opened. She knocked lightly and received no answer. She turned the handle and pushed the door open. Viktor Volkov lay on the floor beside his favorite cello. His eyes were closed, his face peaceful. But his chest was still. She knelt and checked for a pulse. Nothing. The skin was still warm. This had happened very recently. As she reached for her phone, something else caught her attention. The wall safe stood open. Its interior was empty. Viktor kept something special in that safe, a musical score from the 17th century by an obscure Italian Baroque composer. He had spoken of it with pride and something else, something she had interpreted as fear. She made the call with trembling hands. The ambulance arrived, followed by the police. The medical examiner pronounced it a probable heart attack. The man was 70 years old with a history of high blood pressure. Case closed. Elisa stood in the garden as they took the body away. She wanted to mention the open safe, the missing manuscript, but something held her back. Perhaps it was the certainty they would dismiss her concerns. Or perhaps it was an instinct that told her this story was only beginning. 3 days passed before Elisa returned to the villa. The police had sealed the studio temporarily, but the rest of the house remained accessible to family. Family meant Dmitry Volkov, the son who arrived from London for the funeral. Elisa met him at the small service held in a chapel overlooking the lake. Dmitry was in his early 40s, dressed in an expensive black suit. He did not look like his father. Viktor had been tall and gaunt. Dmitry was solid, well-fed, with the confident bearing of someone who spent his days in boardrooms. After the service, Elisa walked to the villa to collect her tuning tools. Dmitry was in the living room, surrounded by papers. He recognized her as the piano tuner his father had trusted. She expressed condolences and collected her tools. Then she asked about the manuscript. Dmitry recalled seeing old papers but considered them worthless. He had not found them among his father's things. She tried to explain the manuscript might have historical value. Dmitry shrugged and said if she found it, she could keep it. He had enough to deal with. He turned back to his phone. Elisa walked to the studio, collected her tools, and stood looking at the closed safe. Whoever had opened it had known the combination. She left, but her mind was already working, connecting dots. Elisa sought Isabelle Faure, a musicologist at the University of Geneva who had been Viktor's friend. Isabelle was in her early 60s, elegantly dressed. Elisa explained her purpose, asking about the manuscript. Isabelle smiled, a practiced smile that did not reach her eyes. She said Viktor had many old manuscripts, most copies or student exercises. She had examined this one. 17th century paper, Italian provenance, A sonata attributed to Francesco Scarlatti. Authentic? Possibly. Valuable? Not particularly. Elisa asked about its whereabouts after Viktor's death. The question hung in the air too long. Isabel suggested his son probably had it. She questioned why it mattered. Elisa thanked her and left, but she felt she had touched a nerve. That evening she called her father in Bern. He knew everyone in the Swiss musical world. He mentioned rumors of a discovery in Tuscany years ago. An Italian antiquarian found something in a church archive. Viktor was involved, then everything went quiet. No publication, no performance. Very strange. A discovery in Tuscany. A manuscript that vanished. A collector who died suddenly. Elisa searched online and found nothing about Francesco Scarlatti or a lost manuscript. It was as if the whole affair had been deliberately erased. The trail led Elisa to Milan, to Maestro Carlo Vitali, a conductor of considerable reputation. He was known for his ambition, the quiet hunger of a man who believed himself worthy of greater fame. The meeting was arranged through a mutual acquaintance. Vitali was a small man, compact and energetic, with restless eyes. He greeted her with curiosity, intrigued by a piano tuner investigating lost manuscripts. She explained about Viktor and the manuscript. Vitali's body stilled at the mention of Francesco Scarlatti. He acknowledged knowing Viktor. They had worked together once. Viktor had mentioned the manuscript years ago, then nothing. Vitali assumed it proved to be a copy. When asked about anyone else Viktor might have consulted, Vitali suggested Isabel IV. The same name again. Elisa thanked him and left. On the train back to Switzerland, she reviewed everything. Viktor told Vitali about the manuscript years ago, then stopped talking. Isabel examined it and dismissed it. Yet Viktor kept it in a safe. Something did not add up. Elisa needed to understand the manuscript itself. She spent 2 days at the University Music Library. Francesco Scarlatti was obscure, born in Naples in 1666, died around 1740. A few chamber works survived. If Viktor's manuscript was authentic, it would be significant. But Isabel dismissed it. The contradiction bothered her. She remembered Viktor once saying he sent a fragment for carbon dating. Her father had connections at the University of Zurich. A few calls and she had a name, Dr. Marcus Weber, who handled a private commission for Viktor 2 years ago. Weber met her in his Zurich office. He remembered the commission. Viktor provided a paper fragment. Carbon dating showed it was from the late 17th century. That part was straightforward. But Viktor also asked for ink analysis. The ink contained synthetic compounds that did not exist in the 17th century. The composition matched modern inks used by art restorers. The paper was old, but the ink was new. The manuscript had been written or altered recently. Viktor was deeply affected. He asked for confidentiality and paid extra. Weber assumed he was dealing with a forgery. Elisa left in a daze. The manuscript was a fake. Viktor discovered this 2 years ago. Yet he kept it, spoke of it with pride and fear. He did not expose the forgery. He was protecting someone. Someone close to him. And that someone might have silenced him. Elisa returned to Geneva with new understanding. The manuscript was a sophisticated forgery. Viktor discovered the truth and kept it secret. Now he was dead, and the manuscript was gone. Who had taken it and why? She considered her suspects. Isabel dismissed it, but if she knew it was a forgery, dismissing it avoided attention. Vitaly expressed interest, then let it drop. He had motive. Premiering a newly discovered Baroque work would elevate his career. Dmitri had everything to gain from his father's death and seemed uninterested in the manuscript. Elisa needed the manuscript's origin. Viktor mentioned Tuscany. Her father mentioned an Italian antiquarian. She searched Italian news archives. On the third day, she found a small item in a Florentine newspaper. A local antiquarian named Giovanni Rossi identified a previously unknown Scarlatti sonata in a Pistoia church basement. Weeks later, he died in a car accident on a mountain road. No follow-up article. No authentication announcement. Elisa searched for Giovanni Rossi and found his obituary. The accident occurred just weeks after his discovery. A cold feeling settled in her stomach. An antiquarian discovers a valuable manuscript. Weeks later, he dies. The manuscript ends up with Viktor in Switzerland. Viktor discovers it is a forgery. 2 years later, Viktor dies. The manuscript vanishes. She called her father again. He gave her the name of a Florence dealer, Signor Bianchi, who knew everyone. Bianchi remembered Rossi. A terrible accident. After Rossi died, the manuscript disappeared. Some said he sold it. Others said it was stolen. The church had no record. Rossi was respected, but the affair was strange. When asked about potential buyers, Bianchi mentioned rumors. A Swiss collector, a Russian musician in Switzerland, and a Milan conductor. But rumors were just rumors. Rossi took his secrets to the grave. The pattern was unmistakable. Rossi announces a discovery and dies. The manuscript appears with Viktor. Viktor discovers it is fake and dies. The manuscript disappears again. Elisa confronted Isabel at a cafe near the university. Isabel arrived, elegant and cautious. Elisa told her about the carbon dating, the modern ink, the forgery. Isabel's composure cracked briefly. Then she revealed that Viktor came to her 2 years ago, distressed. He told her the manuscript was not authentic. She advised him to expose it. He hesitated. He said he knew who was responsible and exposing them would destroy someone he cared about. He did not reveal the name. Isabel assumed it was someone close, a colleague in the music world. She advised him to be careful. Viktor laughed and said he could handle it. 6 months ago, he called her, very agitated. The person contacted him again, trying to convince him to stay silent. Viktor was angry. He said he was going to end it. That was the last time they spoke. Elisa asked who the forger might be. Isabel hesitated. There was one person Viktor trusted completely, someone with access to his home and thoughts. But she had no proof, only suspicion. She asked for time. She left, paying for her coffee and walking away. Days passed. Elisa continued tuning pianos, but her mind was elsewhere. Then Dmitri called. His voice was different, uncertain. He asked her to come to the villa. Something had happened. The villa was mostly empty. Dmitri stood among packing boxes, looking tired. He had found something among his father's papers. A letter Viktor wrote but never sent. Addressed to Elisa. She opened it with trembling fingers. Viktor wrote that if she was reading this, something had happened. He was sorry. He was afraid, not for himself, but for someone he loved. The manuscript was a forgery. He discovered it 2 years ago. The man who brought it to him, Giovanni Rossi, died shortly after. Viktor had proof Rossi's death was not an accident. The person responsible was someone he had known for years, someone he trusted. He kept silent, hoping they would confess. They did not. They tried to convince him to stay silent. They did not know he had proof. The proof was hidden where only she could find it. Remember the last time she tuned his piano. Remember what he showed her. Dmitri found the letter in a drawer. Viktor must have changed his mind about sending it. Elisa closed her eyes. The last tuning session. Viktor had opened the piano's action mechanism, showing her a small adjustment. He mentioned the piano had a secret compartment, a feature of antique Steinways where tools were once stored. He laughed and said it was empty. But perhaps he was telling her something else. The secret compartment. Elisa returned the next morning. Dmitri gave her permission to examine the piano. The Steinway stood silent in the corner. She opened the lid, removed the panels, exposing the action. Beneath the keyboard, accessible only when the action was partially removed, was a small cavity. In antique Steinways, this stored tools. In this piano, it held a small leather pouch. Her hands trembled as she retrieved it. Inside were a USB drive, a photograph, and a handwritten note. The photograph showed Giovanni Rossi with Viktor in a Tuscan village. Both were smiling. The note said the proof was here, use it wisely. She pocketed the pouch and called Isabel. They met at Isabel's office. Elisa placed the USB drive on the desk. She had not looked at it. She wanted to do this together. Isabel inserted the drive. The files contained scanned documents, photographs, and a voice recording. The documents were emails between Rossi and someone identified only by an email address. The photographs showed the manuscript at various stages. The recording was dated 3 years ago. Isabel clicked play. Viktor's voice filled the room, strained and exhausted. He learned Rossi was dead. It was not an accident. The person who created the forgery killed him. Viktor had proof, emails showing they pressured Rossi to declare the manuscript authentic, emails showing they threatened him. Rossi refused. Now he was dead. Viktor was afraid. He would give the person a chance to confess. If not, this recording would be made public. The recording ended. Silence. Then Isabel whispered. She recognized the email address. She had seen it before, on correspondence Viktor showed her years ago. It belonged to Carlo Vitali, the conductor in Milan. The revelation hit Elisa like a physical blow. Carlo Vitali. The charming, ambitious conductor who had seemed so helpful. He had lied to her face. But was he capable of murder? Rossi died on a mountain road. Viktor died of a heart attack during a confrontation. Both could be accidents. Both could be something else. Why would Vitali risk everything? His career had plateaued. He was respected but not celebrated. A major discovery, the premiere of a lost Baroque masterpiece, would change everything. The forgery was not about money. It was about legacy. She called Dmitri. To her surprise, he listened carefully. He concluded his father was murdered by stress, by a man who pushed him too far. He wanted to help. They planned their next move. They needed to confront Vitaly with undeniable proof. The emails showed threats, not murder. But Viktor mentioned proof of Rossi's murder. Elisa examined the files more carefully. In a subfolder, she found GPS coordinates and a photograph of a winding mountain road. The road where Rossi died. The photograph showed skid marks, a broken guardrail, and in the corner, a dark vehicle parked at a distance. A vehicle matching Vitaly's rental car during his Tuscany visit 3 years ago. Viktor hired a private investigator. The investigator placed Vitaly at the scene the night Rossi died. It was not proof of murder. But it was proof of presence, proof of lie. Vitaly told police he was in Milan. The photograph proved otherwise. Elisa asked Isabel to arrange a meeting with Vitaly. The pretext, a final discussion before turning the matter over to authorities. Vitaly agreed, sounding unconcerned. He had no idea what was waiting. They met at Isabel's office. Vitaly arrived confident, smiling. He shook hands, greeted Isabel, settled into a chair. Elisa placed the photograph on the desk. It was taken the night Rossi died. His rental car was in the background. She asked why he was there when he told police he was in Milan. His smile did not flicker, but his eyes changed. He said the photograph proved nothing. Many people drove that road. Elisa pressed. It proved he was there when he lied. Why lie unless he had something to hide? Isabel spoke quietly. They had the emails. The ones he sent to Rossi, pressuring him to authenticate the manuscript, threatening him when he refused. They had Viktor's recording. It was over. Silence. Then Vitaly laughed without humor. He said they did not understand. Rossi was a fool. He found the manuscript, recognized its potential, then grew frightened. He wanted to declare it fake. Vitaly merely encouraged him to reconsider. Elisa countered. He threatened him. When Rossi refused, he followed him. He was there when Rossi died. Vitaly's composure cracked. He admitted he was there. He followed Rossi to talk one last time. Rossi drove too fast, angry, careless. He lost control. Vitaly watched his car go over. He did not push. It was an accident. And Viktor? Isabel asked. Vitaly closed his eyes. Viktor was different. He discovered the truth but did not expose him. He gave him chance after chance to confess. Vitaly offered money. Viktor refused. He said he would give him 1 more month, then go to authorities. The day Viktor died, he called Vitaly to Geneva. He had proof about Rossi. They argued. Viktor shouted, called him a murderer. His face went red. He clutched his chest and collapsed. Vitaly swore he did not touch him. But he took the manuscript. He opened the safe and took the evidence. He panicked. He thought if it was gone, if Viktor was dead, it would be over. He was not a murderer. Just a musician who made terrible choices. The confession hung in the air. Elisa felt no satisfaction, only sadness. 2 men dead because of ambition and fear. A third man's life was about to shatter. Isabel told Vitaly he had to turn himself in. For fraud, for obstruction, for being present at Rossi's death and saying nothing. He asked what if he refused. Elisa held up her phone. She had been recording the conversation. Every word. If he walked out, it went to police, to press, to every music journal in Europe. His career, his reputation, everything, gone. His shoulders sagged. He agreed to go. Isabel drove him herself. Elisa stayed behind. She had done what Viktor asked. She found the truth. But the weight pressed down, heavier than expected. She called Dmitri. He was quiet. Then he said his father was at peace now. He thanked her. In the following days, Vitaly was arrested for fraud and obstruction. The Rossi investigation reopened, but without conclusive evidence. It remained an accident complicated by Vitaly's cover-up. The music world was shocked, then moved on. Elisa returned to tuning pianos. Sometimes, when she opened a Steinway and saw the secret compartment, she thought of Viktor and the burden he carried. The manuscript was never recovered. Vitaly claimed he destroyed it. Perhaps he had. Perhaps it would surface again someday, another lie waiting to be discovered. 6 months passed. Elisa received an invitation from Dmitri. He had kept the villa, transformed it into a foundation supporting young cellists. The invitation was for a private concert, the first event. A young Ukrainian cellist would perform Bach on Viktor's instrument. She accepted. The evening was cold and clear. The lake visible through the windows, the Alps sharp against the sky. Dmitri greeted her warmly, changed by grief. He led her to the music studio. The room was unchanged. The Steinway in its corner. Viktor's cellos in glass cases. A photograph of Viktor, young and vibrant, on the wall. Dmitri opened a drawer and removed a small box. Inside was another USB drive. He found it in Viktor's safe deposit box. A recording Viktor made for her. He must have made 2 copies. After the concert, after the beautiful music filled the villa one last time, Elisa returned home and played the recording. Viktor's voice, calm and measured, spoke across the months. He told her she gave him hope in his final years. She treated him as a person, not a famous musician. She listened. She cared. That meant more than she knew. He said the manuscript, the forgery, the deaths, would fade. Music remains. What matters is the sound, the emotion, the connection. He played for 60 years. He hoped he brought beauty into the world. He thanked her for being his friend, for seeking the truth. Then he urged her to let it go. Live her life. Tune her pianos. Listen to the music. That was enough. Goodbye. She sat in darkness, tears streaming, as the recording ended. Outside, Geneva continued its quiet existence. Somewhere, a pianist practiced scales. Somewhere, a cellist drew a bow across strings. The music continued, as Viktor knew it would. The next morning, Elisa returned to work. Her first appointment was at a small music school. She tuned an upright piano in a practice room filled with light. She tightened strings, checked intervals, listened with her perfect pitch. She thought of Viktor's words. Listen to the music. That is enough. She tightened the final string, played a scale, and smiled at the pure, true sound filling the room. Then she packed her tools and walked to her next appointment, ready to bring another instrument back to life.